everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Those of you who listen to this live, a special thanks and a consideration because you guys keep it going. You really do. Without you, well, it wouldn't keep going. It's that simple. Listen, we're going to talk about some things today that there's no way I could advertise. And under current stat, and we have a lot of things to cover. So we're just going to get right to it, okay? Listen. Regarding the currency situation, it's moving forward. You should already understand, or already do understand, that just below the surface of what humanity sees, there's all-out war going on between intelligence agencies, positive, regressive aliens. There is just, it's all-out war. And frankly, it's a miracle that it hasn't stumbled out into the public just yet. And this battle between good and evil is going to be with us for a little bit while longer. On a real surface level that every one of us touches every single day, that would be our governments and the currencies. Great strides are being made to make this thing happen. In fact, this was supposed to go earlier, and the U.S. military had some issues that they had to resolve. And that's all I know about it. And those issues were resolved. And then this morning, this was supposed to go live. And the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, put a hold to it until Monday. That's the word on the street. And the reason for that is they didn't want to post all the currency rates, because there would be a mad rush for gold, especially at this price. So something may be going on over the weekend in reference to the price of gold. Now, you need to understand that the Bank of International Settlements, or that consortium has been around for almost 2,000 years. Today, we call it the Bank of International Settlements. They have controlled the price of gold for almost 2,000 years, okay? So, again, this is the old Roman Empire. This is, what we're dealing with and what we're up against, and what humanity has been up against, is we live in an economic system that has been totally manipulated to, for the most part, work against all of humanity, unless you become a playa, okay? If you become a playa, then they let you play the game. But if you're not a player, you can't play the game. All you can do, well, you'll never win the game. All you can do is play it to survive. And that's what many of us have been doing for lifetime after lifetime. But it's moving. There is a lot of positive movement in this direction. And we're close. We are as close as we've ever been. So don't give up faith. Don't give up hope. This has to happen. No one wants the old Cabal / coven, satanic coven, to survive and to remain in power. No one wants that, except those that control the coven and the Cabal. No one wants that. So things are happening. It's moving. I know we all want it yesterday or 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I get that. I'm in exactly the same boat. But it is moving forward. It is happening. And we're very, very, very close. Before we got started today, JP brought to my attention about the Schumann resonance. Now, I've known that it's been spiking and acting. It's been spiking and it's been pinging us like there's no tomorrow. I just hadn't had access to a computer to look all this stuff up. Listen, this is a good thing. Not everybody reacts well to a spiking Schumann resonance. But I want you to understand something. Every time this spikes, our cells, our DNA expands. It expands. And every time it expands, it basically stretches it out so that we can hold more light. If this continues, many of you, especially the kids, their DNA is going to adjust to the expansion by adding a third strand, all right? Which will take some of the pressure off the two. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be a point, and I know Wilcock has talked about this, maybe others, I don't know, because I make a concerted effort not to pay attention to what they're talking about. But people send me stuff anyway. And he has talked about this where there's a light from the sun, a flash, a solar flash, and people ascend. You need to understand this. When we talk about those type of events, if something like that were to occur, and it's a possibility, it's definitely a possibility. If something like that were to occur, it would not be a permanent move. Okay? We would go to a place, wherever that place is, and then after a while, after some education, teaching, okay, and the retraining of the tools which each one of us individually have, and I'm talking about spiritual tools, whether it's telekinesis, whether it's telepathy, whether it's talking to animals, whether it's being a whisperer, whether it's healing, whatever gifts we each have at that time when we're in this other place. You could call it a planet, a starship, it doesn't matter. Wherever that place is, you would then come back and teach what you know to the world. Because if you go and you're gone for a while and then you come back, people are going to pay attention. They're going to want to know what's up. This may not be that far off into the future, but timelines are a bitch. You know, very few of us hit any of them. So, but the events The events are the events. Now, this is why it's important for those of you who are awake or are awakening or are asking questions, who are investigating, searching, because you realize that this box that we've all been in called third density is a jail. Once you get that, you automatically begin to open up the jail. You open up the cell yourself, because most of it's self-imprisonment, because you refuse to see things or you refuse to look at things. But once you do, once you realize that there is more and you want to know, your soul, which is multidimensional, automatically connects to other portions of yourself which are not in this box. And in order for information to go in and out, the box has to open. And you're never the same, which is probably a very, very good thing. Your consciousness expands, your spiritual frequency expands, your awareness of what's around you expands, your awareness of the universe, how things work, your expansion of your energy field, and how you begin to feel nature around you, or you begin to feel the people, their feelings and emotions around you. We all have this talent. We all have always had this talent, these skills. It's just that we have been conditioned to ignore them, to shut them down, or to have society around us call us weird or freaks because we know these things, we see these things, we feel these things. There's been a lot of negative input in shutting down each one of us and our spiritual talents. Now, the blessings that are coming, and they're not just financial. The blessings that are coming have to do with spiritual awareness, healing modality, truth, and to me, that's probably the most paramount. I mean, I could go with almost nothing else as long as I truly understood our story. And then I'm talking about Earth's humanity, our full story. It doesn't mean that I don't have access to information or that I haven't shared information that I have been given. I have done that. But there are still things they won't answer for me. And I don't know why, other than the response I always get from RNA, this is part of your journey. And that pisses me off. Okay? Because I want to know. You know, I would just tell me. Of course, that would be easy, right? Just tell me. But he doesn't make it easy. Anyway, but I want to know our story. And I want everybody else to know our story. Because when you really look at the big picture, the amount of energy that has gone into hiding our history, hiding who we are, hiding our spiritual prowess and skills, brainwashing us, suppressing just about everything that we know about ourselves, creating all these fake, false narratives, fake and false history, a lot of energy, a lot of energy, a lot of incredible structure has been built to keep us enslaved. I need to know why. I do, and I would think you do too. Which leads me to this next thing that we're going to talk about. I know that there are a lot of folks out there talking about the space program, the Space Command. And President Trump is doing everything he can, I believe that, and other sources and forces are doing everything they can to begin the process of disclosure, to bringing it forth to humanity. Now, disclosure is not just telling us about, hey, we have our own spaceships. It's an awakening. It's truly an awakening for us to know that we, our own kind, are out there traveling the planets and the stars. This is a shift in consciousness that will be forever permanent amongst humanity. There'll be no turning it off. And the Q group, interestingly, has said that there were some things about, there is some knowledge that they just don't feel will ever be shared. Now, I think Corey Good has made reference to this. And that is that we have been bartering and trading with other star nations. I don't know if he's come right out and said this, but a lot of that bartering and trading has to do with us. This program, the dark side of this program, has been trading and leveraging and bargaining human labor, slave labor, DNA cloning for multiple reasons to other star nations. That's the dark side of this. And all the benevolents know this. They know what's been going on. I'm going to give you a number. In 2017, just in the United States of America, over 600,000 people have disappeared, vanished. Okay? If you include parental kidnapping and other such things which they suspect, that number is actually 675,000 just in the year 2017. That's a staggering number. It's an absolutely staggering number. And you have to ask yourself, where are these people going? Well, we're not going to deal with that today. I don't even want to answer that question. But the issue that I have with this, one of the issues I have, is that the president temporarily put Space Command under the Air Force. And I know that it isn't going to stay there. But he is fighting so many battles on so many fronts that what he's doing is any movement forward is movement. I'm sure that's his thinking. However, a lot of the Air Force is controlled and under the influence of the CIA. And I know that there are rank and file members of the CIA, agents who care about America, care about humanity, are interested in the safety and security of the United States. Now let's talk about the DNA for a little bit. We know, those of us who have been following the exopolitics movement for some time, that many of the races came here, particularly those from Zeta 2, Zeta Reticuli 2, and other groups from Betelgeuse. I believe Cassiopeia, there was an earlier group from Cassiopeia that came here, and what they were doing is they were taking our DNA and they were trying to create new bodies for themselves. They were genetically splicing and manipulating the two races together to try to find something, some physical form that they could use and at the same time would hold soul, their particular frequency of soul. Because every soul that takes to the body is not the same. They're a little different. Or I should say, every soul that's in a physical body, depending upon the tribe or the race, has a different harmonic. And the bodies have to match the harmonic. The human body, which is very pliable, has great ability to expand, is ideal for this type of purpose. So there's been a lot of that going on off-world in our solar system. And then there's also the food factor. Slave labor, etc. That's a very, very dark side of this. But it has to be addressed, and that's probably going to be some of the things they're never ever going to really want to talk about. Because in the beginning of creating these space programs and these black budget operations and the structure to support this, most people that were involved in this came into this with the idea of assisting and helping humanity and lifting humanity out of the day-to-day survival burdens that we all share. But the reality turned out to be something different. But you know, the good thing about a pendulum is that when it swings to the dark, at some point it reaches its apex, and then it has to swing back to the light. And that's what we're doing. That is exactly what's happening. It's just, you have to be aware that there is a light and a positive and a negative side aside to this. And you know, this has been created, this entire narrative, this illusion that we all live with has been created in order to limit our ability to choose what we want. You see, that's the ultimate piece here. All of this was created to limit our ability to choose. But once you're out of the box, you're out of the box. You can't go back in, okay? And that's what's happening. More and more people are waking up, and there's multiple reasons for it. Spiritual energy, earth frequency, spiritual contacts, extraterrestrial contacts. You're meeting people who have a much higher consciousness that are leaving an impression on you, which causes you to look into other things and address life differently, to question your own self, to do voluntary introspection. These are all very, very positive things, things that are absolutely worthwhile life pursuits. And as we do move forward in this direction, in a spiritual direction, the ways of the world, well, there is a time where you go through a real frustration with it. And that amount of time is different for everybody else. But there is a time where you're like, oh my God, this really sucks. This doesn't work for me. How come I've put myself in this position for so long? Why have I allowed this situation to continue, whatever that might be for yourself, for this long? But you have to understand, it's all a process. We were awake in the beginning, and then we fell into time, fell into physicality. And, some of us unfortunately bounced off a planet or a planet's moons, and we landed on the south side of the tracks as opposed to the north side of the tracks. And for those of us who fell on the south side of the tracks, very different scenario is playing itself out. But nonetheless, all the pieces find their way home. And that's what's happening, okay? That is definitely what's happening. We're beginning to find our way home. And the first acknowledgement that this isn't the home is coming to the realization that you are far more than this, than what you are right now and what you represent on this planet. You are far more. There are profound off-world influences occurring. Virtually all of them are positive. There are some regressive, but they're primarily coming from the world itself. The roundup continues. I don't know how long it's going to take. There is movement. They're really beginning to turn on each other and try to cut deals. This is a good thing. I have no knowledge of what deals are being made, if any are being made. But when your enemy starts to take themselves out, you don't get in the way. You don't get in the way. You just let them do it, okay? And that's what's happening. That's where we're at right now. We're also seeing this with the deep state. We're also seeing this with the global cabal / coven. They're beginning to turn on each other and take each other out. You don't get in the way. You let them do this. Okay? It makes our job a lot easier. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I want to offer my condolences to the people of France for the Notre Dame Cathedral fire. In 2000, I had the honor of being in Paris on business, real business. And I was able to spend an entire afternoon at the cathedral. On the inside, it was February, it was cold as hell. But I was able to spend time in the cathedral, go into all the little enclaves. I lit several candles. I walked out, walked around, walked to the far back along the Seine River, and I was able to walk around the rose gardens, which of course were dead at the time, but it was a very special place. It's something I'll never forget. Let's just say that, because I'm very drawn to history anyway, and you could certainly feel the history there. You could certainly feel the power of prayer. Now, I don't know if the fire was lit on purpose or not. But what's interesting is that my sources are telling me that there are 3 Catholic churches a day in France that are being attacked, defaced, or someone's trying to burn down. I find it interesting nobody's talking about that, not the media. And we're having issues here in the States as well with the burning down of Christian churches. I'm not going to read anything into that. I mean, I very well could. But you know, my reason for bringing this up is that there are a lot of things going on they're still not sharing. They simply don't want us to know. They want us stupid. They want us in the dark. They want us not having any idea what's going on, because it's absolutely imperative for the dark forces to control the narrative. And the reason for that is they want to control the way you think, because that's the key to our slavery, is getting us to think the way they want. Because once we break that, once we free ourselves from that narrative of having very limited choices or decisions, options, once we break out of that and we realize it's unlimited, we're unlimited with what our abilities are and what we can create and do and what our options can be. Once we get to that place, we're free. We're free. And at the moment, there's not enough of humanity that's free. But it's very, very promising. There's a lot of things going on. And I want to address this because I get this a lot. Why don't they just come down? The reason for this is actually threefold. And I've dealt with this in the past, but I guess I need to continue to do it. One, if we awaken on our own, we are self-empowered. And a self-empowered being, soul, absolutely cannot be controlled. End of story. Cannot be controlled and is automatically a leader. Okay? You can't pay for that when you do it yourself. Okay? It's there forever. You change everything about yourself in those moments where that realization comes to you. And having that yourself, regardless of who comes down, you may wonder, you may for a time be overwhelmed with technology and maybe the beauty and the wisdom of other races. But you are not going to get on your knees and worship them if you are self-empowered yourself. That's paramount. That is absolutely paramount. Because humanity has been conditioned to get on our knees. Okay? Forever to get on our knees to someone else. If we're worshiping someone else, there's no law of consistency. There is no self-empowerment. And that's what this is really about. Those who ascend, you're not going to be willy-nillys, okay? You're not just going to get lucky. You're not going to be at the right place at the right time when this happens. You are going to be self-empowered already. You're going to be self-empowered already. And there's a reason for that. Okay, the race needs leaders. The galaxy needs leaders. Humanity holds enormous promise and potential, but we have to be self-empowered. No one can do the work for us. No one can do the work for you. You can't be someone else. They're already taken. All you can do is be you. And if you don't know who that is your job to figure it out and find out. Okay? That's your job. It's not that hard. Okay? Well, maybe to some it is, but it's only because you don't believe or trust in yourself. Because you've been fed a line of shit all along. That has disempowered you. Anyway. Many of you who are awake are coming to a place or already in a place where there's no more any guesswork about life, about reality. There's no more impossible decisions. You're in a place where you're very comfortable with who you are, of what you're doing. You are consciously aware of your actions. You are setting your goals. You are following through on those goals. It's not to say there's not hiccups, okay? But you're in a really good place of empowerment with your life. You understand how life works, and you let a lot of judgment go. You're not holding on to it. You understand the power of forgiveness because it works on both sides. If you don't forgive, then you hold yourself back. That's not to say you forever forget a lesson, but you have to move on. You have to move forward. You have to allow yourself all the possibilities available to you and opportunities and potentialities. You can't do that being grudgeful. And many of you are getting to that place. Intellectually, life is not survival to you anymore. This is a very, very good thing. You have enough of a base of knowledge, both spiritual and physical and emotional, that you can very quickly assimilate life and then move on. Okay? It also gives you a unique perspective to teach younger people, if they're willing to listen, about life. And that's very, very powerful to be able to do that, if they're willing to listen. Because they're sponges. And these new kids coming up, these newfangled kids, with the extra DNA, that's pretty much all they really need, is just some real solid, grounded advice about life. What it is and what it isn't. What's real and what's not. What's bullshit narrative and what are the facts. Okay? To be able to distinguish that in this reality today is priceless. It really is. We've reached the place where we have a pretty solid idea of what love is and what love is not. We also understand that when you move into that frequency of love, there are never any guarantees, but there's incredible joys and highs, and there's also sometimes some lows and some pains. But the growth that comes from walking that path of heart, that spiritual path of heart, of love, is, wow. That's why there are so many songs about love. That's why there's so many books about love. That's why there's so much poetry about love. Because It's the journey. It really is the journey. And the emotional growth that comes from walking that path of heart. Well, when you couple that with our extremes of emotions, Windows, when you couple that with our extreme of emotions and the ability, using emotion, to harness so much energy on the path of heart, is one of the reasons, the main reasons, why so many different other races, star nations, are so attracted to us. When we love, anything is absolutely possible. I mean, we pull the energy directly from the sun, directly from other dimensions, down to us, right down through the toes of our feet. Anything is absolutely possible. And at the same time, when love goes wrong, or love goes away, or love crosses over, we find ourselves in a place where many people shut down for a time. They shut down. Some recover, most do, some don't, and they end up dying of a broken heart. Or they just become so cynical that they simply refuse to not experience or trust love, which is a huge mistake. But you'll always have another lifetime to figure it out. You know, you'll have to figure it out. I think what all of us have been missing regarding this path of heart is that it isn't the rewards. It's always been about the journey. And I know that's a cliche. But it's true. It's always been about the journey. And when we have those moments of absolute joy, whether it's love or children or family or career, those moments of grace where you just explode in joy. And you light up all of third density with your heart. Those are absolute moments of grace. And we should appreciate every single one of them. Because we have a few coming up here soon. All of us do. But then there's always the contraction. Okay? But that's how energy works. It's ebb and flow. Ebb and flow. It's always been that way. Okay? I mean, the Schumann resonance. Up, and then it comes down. Up, and then it comes down. We have to understand that the universe is alive. The holograph we live in is alive. Our souls, which inhabit our bodies, are alive. Our physical forms, our avatar bodies, are alive. Our consciousness is alive. The universe is alive. The Creator is alive. We're all one huge organism that's alive. There are no limits. There are no limits whatsoever. And we have to remember that somehow. We have to somehow remember that there are no limits. The United States of America is the byproduct of the consciousness of humanity around the world. Or I should say its founding. Let me preface it. The founding of the United States was something that was being willed from the people of the world who were stuck in tyrants, emperors, monarchies, and they were just treated like absolute dirt or natural resources. And there's a lot of that history in the world. Self-declared gods, self-declared vicars of Christ, just we'll call it what it is, who treated people like dirt, or like slaves, or like natural resource. The longing of humanity to be free, to have a say in how their life is going to be, is really, all of that created a domain of knowing, which then physically manifested in what became the United States of America. Now, the thing that's very unique about the United States of America in all of world history is the fact that a government was created by the consent of the people. The people were meant to rule the government. Okay, that's what it was meant to be. So we created the states to represent us with a federal government. And of course, it's all upside down now. And it is no longer the consent of the governed. Okay? It's not. The government believes it can tell us that we are its property. And of course, you simply should never, ever, ever accept that. Ever. Ever accept that as a reality. And there are many other scenarios that are going on like this. I told you months ago, it may have been 6 months, maybe been longer, that when the deep state and the Cabal / coven, satanic coven, realized that they were losing power, that people were waking up, they were going to throw everything at humanity. When the ETs, the regressive ETs, started being attacked and taken out by benevolent forces, well, the rulership of the earth, the human portion of the management level that was managing humanity on the surface, they freaked because now they have no protection and their lower management level is turning on them. Or they're joining the white hats or they've been taken out. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing the culmination of all of the insanity that they were prescribing for humanity coming at us all at once. Because All they're trying to do is to buy some time to give them the ability to figure out what to do. And that's why it appears to be just so insane. That's why it appears, especially in the media, that they're just like stupid. They're just losing their minds. And they are just, it's just crazy. It's like watching a live soap opera. Okay? That's what's going on. They realize that everything that they've been doing all this time that is going to be exposed. All of their agendas that have been hidden, they're all going to be exposed. All the lies they've told are all going to be exposed. And once that domino falls, there'll be no stopping it. No stopping it whatsoever. It's going to be, it's like a huge room of dominoes. Once you start that thing, you really can't stop it unless you intervene. But the White Hats have set this up in such a way, the benevolents have set this up in such a way that there'll be no way for anybody else to intervene. Okay, when the dominoes start to fall, it's going to be quick, it's going to be severe, and it's going to be final. I mean final. And it has to happen. It absolutely has to happen. It is time for humanity to stand on its own, to get its legs underneath itself. It's time for us to take our place. The grief, the sadness, the sorrow that many of these benevolent races have uncovered and have seen out there, not only of us on the surface, but those who have been taken off world into horrible conditions, simply cannot and never will be justified, ever. I bring that last portion up again because it's important to understand that here on Earth we have a duality, and something as magical and interesting and as fascinating as our secret space program has two sides to it. Okay? Our governments have two sides to them. Religions have two sides to them. We have to be honest with what it is that we see. We can't ignore one and choose just to see the other. It's important to acknowledge both. And if we can change one for the better, we have an obligation to try to do it. But if we can't, we can always warn others about that negative side, so they walk into it with eyes wide open, or they won't walk into it at all because they will make a choice. And that's how we can mentor these younger generations coming up, is just with our knowledge of life, our knowledge of reality, our knowledge of love and hate, pain and suffering, forgiveness. These are the things we can do every day. It all makes a difference. It really, really does. And, you know, as the benevolence work down, we here on the surface need to work up. And at some point, we're going to merge together. Okay, we're going to come together. And it's going to fit like this. And we're golden then. We are absolutely golden when that happens. And we need to be cognizant of that every single day. Okay? Um, there's somebody outside the door with a dog. Do we want to do some questions now? It's 1. I don't, JP, are you still there? I don't know. I would love to do some questions if you guys have some.
Testing.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, that's not bad. All right. So, starting with Trisha Ellis, do you see chemtrails leaving in the next 3 years? Also, are they as poisonous? Presumably as poisonous as they ever were.
Yeah, my understanding is they're bad news. Can they be cleaned up? I believe so. My understanding is that any of the races that are here, excuse me, in assistance, have the ability to fix that and to help with the environment. Will it last 3 years, 3 more years? I don't think so. You know, Trisha, what I don't know is what their full intentions were when they decided to spray the sky. Was it to cool us down? Was it to stop solar flares from hitting the planet? Was it part of a program to depopulate the planet? Was it to cloud the sky with so much debris and shit that the sun would reflect off the atmosphere, and we wouldn't be able to see the moons and planets and things that are in our solar system, including the planet-sized motherships? Was their original intention that, or was it all of it? It's a really, really good question, and I myself do not have a complete handle on it. And most of the people that I talk to have more questions about it than they have answers. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know.
From Jacqueline, hi Alex, are we really going to have to live with Wi-Fi systems that control our vehicles? It seems like a complete recipe for disaster. We recently had to bring in our car for a factory recall to upgrade the computer system for our car from 2013. What do you think? Blessings to you.
Thank you. I think computers in cars are an absolute stupid idea. I just do. I think it's a stupid idea. Do I think we need to have Wi-Fi? You know what? If you don't buy the cars that have that shit in it, they won't make it or sell it to you. You know? It's just that everybody thinks, oh, it's cool. We can have internet in the car. We can have, it's just, you don't need it. There's too much media input already in humanity, especially the young people. I mean, you could probably ask out of 10 kids who have their cell phones and they're texting, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all this shit, you could probably ask 10 kids, what's the weather outside? And I bet 8 of them couldn't tell you. They wouldn't even know what the weather was because they're doing this all the time. From the house to the car, from the car to school, or to the mall, or to their friend's house. That's all they're doing, is this, Absolutely no clue what's going on around them. It's just the little box. And I think having it in the car is a terrible idea. I see people here in Colorado that are slowing down traffic everywhere, and when we go around them, they're texting. They're texting. They're like this on the steering wheel, and they're texting. They're not even watching the road, and everybody else is backed up behind them, and they're clueless because it's so important that they got to get that little message out. This happens more and more and more. So, Jacqueline, don't buy a car like that, or ask them, how do I unplug this thing? If it's possible. But if we don't buy them, they won't make them because they're in the business to make money. Okay? So I like the older cars myself because they don't have all this shit on it. They just don't, you know? I have a friend of mine who bought a brand new Cadillac. It's not a year old. And he had to replace the control module. It's about that big in it. $2,800. And that little box told his car exactly what to do. $2,800. Now, it was covered under warranty, but he didn't have the car for a week because they had to wait for the parts to come in. But that's how much it cost, was $2,800 for this little box. And that was a very lively conversation. He was pretty hot. But you know, he won't do it again. He will not do it again. That's why people are looking at used cars for that very same reason. They don't have all this nonsense on it. You know, computers in cars it's just not a good idea. So, and electric cars, you know, we've heard for years, electric cars are the way to go. Well, the new studies out show that electric cars are actually more harmful to the environment than combustion engines. You ask why? How can that be? One, it takes 3 times the energy to charge it. 2, the rare earth metals that go into the batteries and the rest of the car are so expensive that wars are going to be fought in the future for those metals because there's just not enough of them. There is no way to replace every car on the planet that's combustion engine with an electric car. The resources simply aren't there. So, it's pretty interesting stuff. You know, what we need to do is we need to get some of this electromagnetic energy, magnetic propulsion systems, where you have 2 magnets working off each other, creating electricity. No real actual moving parts except the spinning of a rotor that turns on a generator that charges a battery or propels a car to move. There are no limits. You see, what they've done is they've narrowed our choices to this, when in fact this doesn't work and hasn't worked forever. This is what we need. But they don't want us to know about it. They just don't want us to know about it. They don't want us having any more knowledge. Because the more knowledge we have, the more a threat we are to their system, to their structure of control. That's how it works. Okay, thanks, JP. Thank you, Jackie. Great question.
Okay. Here's one from Lauren. Is this the only lifetime you've had contact? Also, have you been physically protected during this lifetime due to your message in such a critical time?
To my knowledge, this is the only lifetime that I've had that I've had physical contact on Earth. I've had other lifetimes off-world where I was very regularly interacting with my own kind, but we were star people. We were star nations. Traveling, exploring. In there were some fights, some wars in the far, far ancient past. I wasn't always an A. So, but on Earth, of all the ones that I've been here, with the exception of the first one, where we came here to try to bargain a peace treaty, and it didn't turn out well. I came here as an extraterrestrial. This is the only one that I'm aware of. Am I protected? God, I hope so. So far, so good. You know, you can't be protected from words, but as far as harm, other than self-inflicted through stress and things of that nature, I've always felt protected ever since I was a kid. You know, when I was 8, we lost our mom in a car wreck. We were hit by a drunk driver, and I lost my mom and my baby sister. And the car folded like an accordion. And my mom and my baby sister were in the front seat. They didn't survive. My stepdad did, but he was broken up in many pieces. But those of us in the rest of the car, outside of shock and trauma from the experience, we've been okay. We've been okay. Anyway, wow, hadn't thought about that in a while. Okay, next question. Next question.
From Joe. Alex, do you know of any plans to cash in currency at banks when they go live? Currency not trading Zim, Venezuelan bolivars, for example.
My understanding is yes. I mean, that's where you'll go. There are specific groups that have so much currency that they'll be going to military bases to do the exchange. Some will also be given an escort from their homes or their vaults to the base. Now, that's just not here in the States. I understand that that's also available in Europe and in specific parts of Asia as well for their own protection. Now, you asked, here in the United States, North America, probably South America, the banks have all had to become Basel III compliant. And what that strategy means is they have to have assets, actual assets backing up their debt. Where for almost 100 years, since 1913, it's been a fiat currency system pretty much around the world. And that way you just printed money, whatever you needed. That system's done. Also, about a month ago, gold became real money, which means that banks can now put gold holdings, or gold certificates that represent real gold on their bank ledgers as an asset. Now, most of you would think, well, haven't banks always done that? No, not since 1933 here in the United States has a single bank had gold on its ledger as an asset. Okay, because it wasn't considered money. It was considered a metal, a precious metal, not money, because they took us off the gold standard. Okay, and in 1933, the United States declared bankruptcy. A lot of people don't know that. That's when Roosevelt began the confiscation of gold. People had to turn it in. That's an entire history lesson in itself. And then in 71, there absolutely was no longer a gold standard whatsoever in relationship to U.S. currency. And that's when it became truly fiat, was in 1971. Richard Nixon did that, unfortunately. So, I mean, that information's available. It's out there, YouTube. They have documentaries about all this. It's the same cast of players and criminals and crooks that have been running the show. And that's the European bankers, okay? The central bank holders. It's the same cast of characters. So, and their families. Yeah, I mean, we can only hope it's going to be next week. We can only hope. We'll see. I mean, I know so many of us are having a hard time. It sucks living in survival. And it's not so much just that. It's just that, you know, many of us are so open and compassionate that we want to help other people get on their feet. We want to make a change. We want to do something to make a change. And that's really what drives many of us that are in this in the first place, is to take this incredible wealth and do something positive, you know, for ourselves, for the planet. But, you know, that's what I talked about earlier. That's the war that's going on just below the surface. When you change the currency system, when you change that, and the current banking structure no longer has the debt of all these nations to use as leverage, ladies, pardon my language, they're fucked. You see, they're fucked. And what's going to happen is, when that debt is gone and it's been forgiven, that's the plan, these guys who have controlled, manipulated, created wars, have done all this shit to humanity. They're fucked. And they know it. And they know it. And they have no protection anymore. Okay? Their middle management has abandoned them, and the group that was protecting them, that was alien, they're in their own battle for life, for survival. Okay? They're not watching out for this bunch whatsoever. That's what it is. In a nutshell, that's what this whole thing is right now. That's where this whole thing stands. You know, here in America, it's very obvious. You know, whether you like Trump or not, he's trying to do some really positive things. He is trying to make a difference. And one of those is changing the US dollar from a fiat currency to a gold-backed USN note, United States note, printed by the Treasury. Okay? Interest-free, by the way. Backed by assets, real assets. And all that the left wants to do is to destroy him no matter what. You know, that's it. That's all they want to do. They're just driven to destroy this guy. And if you listen to the 24 of them now that are running for president, they have no solutions to make anything better. They really don't. Socialism has never worked, ever, anywhere. And it doesn't matter how wealthy you are as a country. If you give it all away for nothing, when you run out of it, you have nothing. The whole thing implodes. And it always implodes into fascism, corporate fascism. And you're already beginning to see that. And we're not even a socialist country yet. But you're already beginning to see the corporate fascism. Facebook, Google, Twitter, the manipulation of information, the suppression of information. Need I say more? Okay? We are a country that has a Bill of Rights. The first Bill of Rights is freedom of the press, freedom of speech. And yet we have to pass laws to reinforce that on college campuses. What is wrong with this picture? And those of you who are leaning that way, you want to put these people in charge? Oh my God, you really got to rethink this. You do, you got to rethink this. I mean, they're not in charge, and look what they're doing. You know, the consent of the governed. That's what America was all about, the consent of the governed. We are not the property of the government. We created the government to manage our foreign affairs. That's why the federal government was created, to manage foreign affairs. That's it. Not to become God. Can't let it happen. Can't let it happen. Okay, I'm ranting, and I apologize for that.
From Brent. Any comments on monatomic gold or ormus or any vitamins or minerals we can ingest to help our spiritual journey?
No, I personally do not. I'm in my early 60s, and my focus is on keeping my body alkaline. For health reasons, and trying to lower my stress level, which is a continuous battle, and to work on my testosterone. To work on my testosterone. That's pretty much where my focus is at the moment. As far as monatomic gold, that was something I looked into in the early 2000s. I simply couldn't afford to do it. I don't know how much success people have with it. I don't recall the other thing you mentioned. It's not something I've heard of. I understand that one of the big things right now is C60, that a lot of people are taking. There's a lot of conversations about it. I occasionally hear about it. But you got to understand the key to evolution, the key to an evolving consciousness is not your physical body. Okay, this is just a suit that we wear. It's not in control. This is in control. Your soul, your mind, your heart. That's what's in control. What you think is what's in control about you, about your environment, about your state of mind. And that's what I remind myself of every single day. The bodies do need things, but that's not going to get you there. It's going to keep you alive, keep you healthy. If I understood your question correctly. So I'm not that knowledgeable about all the newfangled stuff that everybody takes to achieve nirvana. I just don't know. I'm aware that terminal disease, blindness, other things are being cured overseas with stem cell therapy. That's something I know a little bit about. They're curing blindness, permanent blindness with that. Hearing, cancer, handicaps, MS, AIDS. They're curing all of these things now using stem cell therapy. That seems to be working. I don't know about this other stuff. Okay, JP.
Here's a question. Nancy is asking, what percentage of UFOs sighted are actually our military ships, and how can you tell the difference?
I've heard at least 50% are our own craft. And unless they're triangular, you're not gonna know for sure who they are. I can't tell for sure who they are unless they're the triangular ships, the TR3s, 4s. But they come in different sizes. We have some of the carrier ships are longer They almost look like a teardrop. And the TR3s and the TR4s and others either attach to the outside or they go inside the craft. I saw a photograph of a ship. This is cloud, and it was poking itself up out of a cloud like this, and the picture was taken from an aircraft. That's one of ours. That's one of our carrier ships. You can occasionally see those in the clouds, or they're in the atmosphere and they surround themselves with a cloud. Also, if you go to WSO or Skywatchers, what's his name, Matt Rogers, these kids are doing a lot of amazing work, posting videos and photographs that people are taking from all over the planet. And there are areas where there's absolute cloud cover, and then there's a triangular spot opening in the clouds, looks just like that. Well, that's one of our ships, cloaked there. That's obvious, okay? You'll see all kinds of things like that. Now, talking about that, on WSO, he seems like a very interesting young man. He has on there an interview that he did with an amateur astronomer who goes by the handle of Crow 777, CRROW 777. And he has up there the sun we see and the sun we don't see. He was able to reconfigure his telescope in the optical into the infrared range. You need to see that. You need to see that. You need to see the sun we see, and then behind it, the one we don't see. Because the Vatican telescope in Arizona is looking exactly at the same thing. And what's interesting is that the infrared apparatus that's on the telescope that the Vatican has in Arizona, I think it's Mount Graham, they call that apparatus Lucifer. And they're using their telescope with the Lucifer apparatus watching the sun we don't see. It's worth a look, okay? It's absolutely worth a look. The interview's about an hour. You can, if you pull it up on YouTube and you just go to the point where he shows you the photographs and the footage of the video of him moving the telescope back and forth between the two suns. I think it'll be very enlightening for you. You know, it'll give you a firm grasp of what's going on, really going on here. Because there's a lot going on. As I've tried to share with you, there's a lot going on. But, you know, I'm just one voice in the wilderness. There's a few of us, but, you know. Okay, JP, I think let's do one more question.
This is from Lauren again. I'm 34 years old. Do you think if I live to 84, this planet will be in a better place when I leave? I really don't want to have to come on back again.
Oh, come on. It's a walk in the park. Earth is a walk in the park. Oh, Lauren. 34, God bless you. I'm hoping it's better in 10 years. You know, I won't see 54 more years, or 50 more years. But I'm hoping in the next 10 years, it's in a much better place, that we've absolutely made the turn and we're heading in the right direction. And enough people have woken up that the trajectory for humanity is on a very, very positive incline. That's my hope. So I'm going to say 10 years. Now, I know that gets us to 2030, which is the UN's depopulation program under Agenda 21, etc. But I just don't see that coming to fruition. I just don't think it's ever going to be allowed to occur. I pray to that. I pray for that, and I always hope that that whole thing is going to be completely dissolved, and the people who have put this program into motion, and if we've even dreamed this up, will be sitting in a cell in a FEMA camp somewhere, picking fleas out of their hair. That's what I hope. That's really what I hope, because that's where they deserve to be, is away from humanity, because they're insane. They're insane. Our time is up. For those of you who celebrate Easter, happy Easter. And if not, enjoy your Sunday, your weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always an honor and a privilege for me to be here, and I really appreciate those who come to the live broadcast, and I appreciate those who do the rewinds, the reviews as well. It's just that this really helps me tremendously pay the bills. So I thank you and I honor you, and I hope that you get something out of this. Because it's not scripted. As you can obviously tell, it's not scripted. Thank you so much, and I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.